Oh, data.
So the tracking control doesn't seem to do anything. All the way to the left, all the way to the right. If I kind of jiggle it, it sometimes works. So I think this control is broken and it just free spins. It's not even hooked up to anything. Let's take it apart. I'll hold AFT down here. Interestingly, the tuner's not that good. The Toshiba that I reviewed earlier had a much cleaner tuner. But what's interesting is this one has UHF and VHF combined, which is pretty modern for its time. So I imagine the poor quality is a byproduct of that. Here's something neat for service. And it just sits there until you flip this guy out. And then down it comes. And here's a look under the hood. That weird Sanyo Betacord styling with the words Betavision. Absolutely fascinating. I did some Googling on this model and I found another 4590A identical to this, including this door flap. It's a Betavision. Just to further my point, I found some ads of the 4590A, and here, as you can see, this is from 1986. They were selling it price reduced. Look at that, it says Betavision right on the front there. Clear as day. And here's another one, same thing. This ad's from 1985. So, I don't know, I guess they were blowing this away for a while. Or maybe it was released later than 84. Here you can see the wired remote pause. That's all you get. And here's a similar model. This is the 4650. But that's a Sanyo model with a wireless remote. And it says Betacord right on the front. So, I don't know. I think this is just a weird discounted version that Sanyo sold later than the other models. If these ads from 1985 and 1986 are any indication, it's a stripped down version with only a simple one-button wired remote. It has the Sears Betavision front door flap. Possibly they had leftover Betavision doors because Sears was moving to VHS. Who knows? But this seems like a late model that was a stripped down version. Here's the green VFD display. It's green when you don't have the blue lens on the front. All the controls. Here's the mechanism. It's a load of tape. Now what's interesting is this does the older Sanyo thing and not fully load the tape like all Sony Betamax and newer other brands did. This tracking problem is interesting. No matter, oh, whoa, hold on. It worked for a second there. Oh. Yeah, if I pull on the tracking knob, it works. So this tracking knob appears to be bad. I gave a little tug and the tracking's working. If I push it, yeah, there we go. And now it's not doing anything. So if I pull on it, it seems to sort of do something. Interesting. Let's try a Beta 2 tape. Yeah, this tracking dial is completely buggered. If I give it just the right pull, the picture will come in momentarily. Come on. Had you a second ago. Oh, here we go. Come on. You infernal thing. So, I'm gonna give this a good spritz with the contact cleaner. See if I can get it making any sort of contact inside. My concern is it feels real loose, so it might be that it's not dirty, but just loose, and the switches aren't, or the little wipers aren't making contact. And this is gross. There's like some sort of a food liquid spilled on the front when I got this. It looks like it went down in here and corroded while it was sitting. Well, it's kind of working. If I lift it up, it sort of... Come on. Stay. I think this dial is, see if I'm holding it, it sort of works. And I'm holding it up like this. But this tracking dial is just absolutely buggered. There. Not sure if that's related to tracking or something else. Definitely seems like, oh, yep, as soon as I touch the tracking knob here. Come on. There. Damn it. Here's the more of the rest. It's all along the top. Alright, well, I got it's on the bench here. I pulled the variable resistor, potentiometer out, desoldered it there, and I have it hooked up to my multimeter. And as you can see, it is completely open. I can maybe get it to show a resistance if I pull at it just right, but this thing's boned. And unfortunately, it's a very unique looking potentiometer. Not sure I'd be able to order a direct replacement. But I can also try taking this apart and fixing it, because, like, I don't know, what else do I have to... Oh! Wait a second. I have that other Sanyo, that little VCR-3, that I believe has a similar control on it. I'm going to try salvaging from that. So here it is. Let's see if I can get some better light here. You can sort of see the wiper in there. And those two little holes, ooh, don't want to lose that, would normally go to the two little holes on this collar. And the collar sits on that black plastic piece. So the wipers have essentially separated. You see that little tiny dot there? That's one of the little crimps. I believe those two holes were either like a little spot weld or like a crimp. So that's one of the crimps that's fallen off. So I need to find a way to attach these two and put it back together. So tiny. I don't have very good macro focus. But yeah, there's the little wiper. Wow. You really need tiny, tiny fingers to work on this. Look. That's my finger, and that's the assembly. So there's two little plastic bumps, and this plate sits on top of them on one side, and then this collar sits on the other side. And I assume that they probably crimped those and compressed those on, and then melted the plastic on either side. So I've used a bit of JB Weld. I don't know how good this stuff still is. I think it's expired. We'll see if that holds it. There we go. While this is drying, I went and tacked a 47K pot in here. I think it's normally 100, so this might not really do much. However, I've got a picture which is more than I had before. Alright, the glue, or JB Weld, held for the wipers actually quite well. And this collar, I realized what it's for. You can see it's got a bit of a spring to it and then a little bump right there. So what that does is that pushes against, I have it sitting, this is the plastic housing that normally goes on the back side. I just have it, it's using it as a stand right now, but it pushes against that to make sure the wipers have a bit of spring tension and are constantly touching the circuit board in there, the traces. So this is required. So now I gotta wait for this back to set again. Without that tensioner, it was sort of reading on the meter, but again, when you wiggle it, it would move around. So time to, Just wait for this to dry. Well, unfortunately my GB weld didn't hold. As soon as I popped this inside, the tension put on the wipers and on that spring, that back plate just popped it out. So probably not the right stuff to use on here. Maybe I didn't apply it right. I don't think epoxy would work. It doesn't really stick to metal that well. Anyway, I also checked the tracking control on the other Sanyo I have for parts, and those are much smaller. Oops. So those won't work either. But, I mean, until I can find a replacement, it seems to play most Beta 3 tapes I have just fine. So I might just keep using it as a Beta 3 player only until I find a replacement for this. So I'm just going to solder the broken one back in and leave it for now. But I can still test recording and playback on it, and I think it should play its own recordings with the tracking control open. This is one way to find out.
Thank you.
So again, tracking seems to do nothing. Oh god, that thing is loud. But records just fine. There's pause. So this is on Beta 2. I'm going to shut this off because that's just awful. It should go to Beta 3 any second now. And there we go. Seems to work just fine. I'll put a sample at the end of this video of some recordings done on this thing. But yeah, no tracking. But somehow that seems not to matter for most stuff I put into it. So, oh well.